Welcome to the very first episode of Legends of Bodybuilding. My name is Ben Wellen and I'm one of your hosts. And the other host is a legend himself, the man that was supposed to be the next Mr. Olympia after Dorian Yates, Jean-Pierre Fuchs.
Hi guys. So nice to see you. So nice to be here. I'm looking forward to this new adventure, and especially with the first guest here, Milos. I mean, that's just the perfect first guest.
Well,
nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for a privilege to give me that first spot. But I didn't know that you would say Jean-Pierre. I thought it was Jean-Pierre. How do you say
Jean-Pierre.
it?
Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
No, it's
Jean-Pierre.
no Jean
Okay,
here.
hey, Milos, was sage ich denn? Milos, warte, jetzt, muss ich erstmal, jetzt kommt's. Today, of course, we have a very special guest who is very famous in the bodybuilding community. He won in 1986 the Mr. Yugoslavia, in 1987 the Mr. Yugoslavia, and in 1989 the Mr. Universe title. And I think, as far as I can remember, he was even natural back then. After he got his pro card, he came in the top 3 in the San Jose Pro, Chicago Pro, Finland Grand Prix, France Grand Prix, Niagara Falls Pro, Canada Pro, and Florida Pro. And he placed second in Night of Champions, the Ironman Pro, and the Toronto Pro. And he won in 1997, the Canada Pro and the Toronto Pro Invitationals. Today we have Milos, the Mind, Sarcev, yay!
Thank you, Ben. I know you had a hard time finding my victories because I didn't win many shows. But yeah, look, because this is a first episode, then I'm glad to have Jean Pierre. Here I'm a huge fan, and I don't know how much JP I did follow you, of course, from very beginning because I'm European myself. And then when this new wonder from Switzerland came about, right? You won like 94 a world championship, and then 95, for whatever reason, you didn't compete, but 96, I saw you first time at the Arnold Classic. And I don't know if that was your pro debut exactly.
Correct.
That was a pro debut. And that was like one of those, like, take your breath away. Like, is this even possible? I mean, Ben, again, you mentioned this at the very beginning. JP was hopeful to be next Mr. Olympia because he has this written all over him.
Right.
It was Dorian Yates that dominated, from 91 until this is now 96. And first guy that comes that really actually match him for the size and match him from the back. We had Nasser somebody at the time that was obviously, one of my friends and favorites. I think Nasser was tremendous from the front and from the side. And as many people would agree, he would lose, from the back. And then can you really, make argument, oh, that's enough to lose? It's complete physique balance and everything else. But I don't know, JP, I never asked you, how do you feel comparing backs with Dorian Yates? But I do have a signed photo. You gave me that one back lat spread photo, which unfortunately I didn't save it. My daughter should find it somewhere in the storage. And that picture is the craziest picture of anybody doing a lat spread pose from behind, starting from crazy calves and hamstring and glutes, and then lats that it looked Photoshop. I mean, and I know it wasn't. So, JP, did you actually feel 96 when you, for the first time, step on the stage that you have a chance to dethrone Dorian?
Well, the very first show when I showed up, what I was told in Switzerland is, well, once you see those guys in real top shape, although I did attend the 95 Olympia as a guest, but I was pretty far back. You can't compare that with anything you've seen on guest posings. Once you see those people, I mean, it's just a different planet. And forget about all this Mr. Universe, what is to some degree true. So I went to the Arnold's Classic not having a clue. The night before, I don't know if it was Wayne D'Amelia, it was Steve Weinberger, or it was Jim Mannion. Somebody came to my room and started to totally freak out, and you gotta wait here. And he went to get all those people. My room was full with like 15 people, and everybody was kind of like, this is unbelievable. I mean, we didn't see this size and from every side, and I didn't know what to make of it. So I went to the prejudging, still having no clue really. Am I good? Am I not? I didn't really. Paul Dillette was kind of standing out to me. That was pretty much it. But then something happened between prejudging. I didn't get really good call-outs. Now we know why. I was a little bit too heavy. After the prejudging, I went back to the hotel room, and there was footage on TV from backstage. And I watched that. And there was a guy far back, which was way bigger than anybody else. And I'm like, who the hell? I don't remember that. Who's this guy? And as the camera came closer, it was me. So that was that moment I realized, oh my God,
Wow.
I can compete on this level. Because in Switzerland, you're told you don't have a chance. It's just the way the Swiss mind is not programmed to. You can be the best in the world. You're not programmed when you go into pro circles like that. Unfortunately,
I can associate with that, right? Because I had the same thing back in Yugoslavia. I'm serious. When I announced I'm going to go to America and compete at Mr. Olympia, I was laughing stock of a nation. I mean, other bodybuilders were literally rolling laughing like, what are you gonna do? Go on Olympia? Like, a zero chance. But I was a smaller guy, and I could imagine they can't put two and two together. You were absolute monsters. So this is first time I hear this story that Jim Mannion, Steve Weinberger, maybe Wayne DeMille, whoever was in your room, and they call everybody else, because that was a shock factor. And when you step on that stage, for sure, it was a shock factor. Yeah, you were not crazy conditioned. You were good, but not crazy conditioned. We are talking about those times. That's like 96, mid 90s. And as you said, you watched Olympia 95, which for me, that was Dorian's craziest condition ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I was at the first row, and that was the first time that I said, like, nobody actually really appreciates it. When we are backstage and you see the guy, it's not the same, because he's standing next to you. You can see and get the idea, but not until you sit and watch on the stage when those lights hit you just perfectly. Dorian was at the condition that I would say this boldly exceeded Andreas Munzer. I've been with Munzer many times, and Munzer is always considered bone dry, the craziest condition. It just Munzer's shape and insertion is like something was like super striated and sliced and diced, but then this area was kind of not happening, and you need deep abs and intercostal serratus to leave that illusion. So anyway, you were, I don't know, you placed like 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, 9 actually only. And I remember when the people left my room, I was talking to my workout partner, Danny Scherer was his name. I said, maybe, they told me you have to be a little drier, you have to be a little harder, and you can win this show. And I said, maybe we should take a diuretic. And he's like, no, don't do that. That's very, very, very dangerous. Because I didn't take diuretics as an amateur. Every year at the Mr. Universe, we had to have we had diuretic tests.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any experience with diuretics other than once as a junior. So he's like, absolutely not. You become really flat and you be a mess. You can't do that. So, having somebody in the corner there who knows something would have helped a little bit.
Wow.
So yeah.
So even for the finals, you didn't take it?
No, absolutely not. And not that I was, I was really convinced after what my workout partner told me that this will really, really harm me. It will harm my look. But then a week later in San Jose, I looked way, way better. And it was one of the craziest weeks of my life because I got really sick. I've told the story before. But I know I have so many questions here to you. I gotta be careful. Away here.
I hope you're not limited with time. But
no, we don't.
Okay,
all right. But imagine seeing a guy on TV and you in totally awe, and then you find out, oh shit, that's me.
That's the first time I hear that. That's beautiful.
So then I
talk about this with some guys. Like they go backstage and then they see the pictures or video footage and they're shocked how good they look. That is the most unbelievable feeling. But this exceeds that. Like, who is this monster? Oh,
yeah.
It looks like
Milos, I know you competed a couple times, or I don't know, 12, 14 times with Jean-Pierre, but I'm really sure you saw me also competing on stage as an amateur. I give you some names and you can take a wild guess. Tim Belknap.
Yeah, of course.
Mike Quinn.
Yes.
Jeff King.
Yes.
They were all in that show where I was competing. Which show I'm talking about? Amateurs.
Well,
there was Brian Buchanan.
You could be in Belgrade. Hold on a second. You could be in Belgrade 80, I was going to say 5 or 6.
84 World Championship, Nava.
Okay.
Exactly.
I thought it was 85, 86, yeah.
No, it's okay. You were there.
Actually. I was there. I was watching, of course.
Yeah, I came in 4th. That was my first World Championship.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, 84. Yeah, that was Belgrade and first like huge international show. Yeah, Tim Belknap. And then there was Brian Buchanan, right?
Brian Buchanan, Hubert Metz. Yeah, and, exactly. And you had this hero in Yugoslavia, Slobodan Blagojevic.
Yeah, he lives in Switzerland. He is my closest friend, Bobo.
Right.
is mentor by the Zurich.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he was a 21 years old wonder, conditioning of Andreas Munzer. And
I know. Milos, he
yeah,
beat me at the Junior Europeans. I was the favorite to win it. I just won the German nationals. I come to the Europeans and I see this guy completely small, in clothes, looked like nothing, right?
yeah.
And his coach was this very famous coach. What's his name from Yugoslavia?
I don't want to say the name because it was not really his coach, Petar
Okay.
Cech.
Anyway, he took his clothes off,
Yeah,
and I never seen something like that.
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Listen,
Unfreaking believable.
We were going like 0 carbs and 0 fat back there. I mean,
Right.
not just 0 carbs keto diet. I mean, Bobo would cook the chicken, and after he cooked the chicken, he changed the water and cooks it again to try to get everything out. Then egg whites, of course, would be main thing, and then we had the fish. I don't know, on Serbian it's called oslic. It's like some white fish. There is like zero zero everything except some protein. And let me tell you, that's how you would go all the way to the show.
Wow.
No carb up, no nothing. You don't touch the carbs.
Yeah.
When I came back to Yugoslavia at the time, and I tell them how I actually prepared for the show, nobody believed it. Oh, you have carbs? Like, oh my God, because there was no such a thing.
Right.
So there was no loading whatsoever. Huh?
Zero. I'm serious. I just remember, okay, when you mentioned this gentleman, his name is Petar Cech, and I have a huge issue with him because he ended up being like super bad person and a liar and trying to present you a certain way. He was writing about me being pretty much about dead from abusing steroids and all that stuff. I'm just about to die. He put on a cover of a magazine. Actually, on Instagram, I posted like 4 or 5 days ago. And if you read this, how dramatic is with Milos's health. I mean, 30 years later, I'm dramatically still alive, right? But so this guy was like that. But he would be working somewhere in Germany as a gastarbeiter, right? And then he would have all these ideas what Schwarzenegger was doing and what these people are doing. He had no idea, right? But when you're the only one in the country, you can talk about it, and then people are just going to listen to you. So Bobo, good friend of mine, heard about him. He went there. He trained with him a few times and whatever, but far away from Peter being his coach or a trainer. He's way above what Peter ever was. I mean, Peter would not be successful in men's physique contest, to just put the really idea where did he belong. Not a classic and far away from a bodybuilding. Bobo was, like I said, junior champion. And when he was 21, I mean, he placed second to Jeff King, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
imagine. And to tell you, after I've seen him do it, I said, here is my countryman, second in the world championship. If he can do it, I could do it too. Right. And really, he's the one that inspired me.
Right.
Yeah, no, thank God in Switzerland we had Jean-Luc Favre. There was the one which made me realize I can absolutely do that. Not maybe on pro level, but I can win the Mr. Universe. I don't know if you remember him. It was the same experience backstage in Paris where the smallest guy walked in a little jeans jacket, looked like nothing. When that guy took his shirt off, I mean, he was unbelievable. And I still believe they misjudged him a little bit at the 90 Olympia in Chicago. He was a little bit punished too harshly, placed only like 13th or 14th. I don't know if you remember Jean-Luc Favre.
Yeah, I do. But you see, as you know, it's a little bit paying the dues, not being known, and then where do they put you there? So, if he competed, 4 or 5 years, then they would assess him correctly. And then if you look, Ronnie Coleman was placing nowhere, right, initially. Jay Cutler was placing nowhere, so to speak, right? It's not like they got instantly recognized and okay, now let's push them.
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm an exception. I was recognized right away, and I don't remember ever couple of exceptions where I didn't get the placing I deserved. Because now my first European tour, I placed as far as second
in Russia.
In Russia.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that regard that there was no paying dues or anything like that for me.
With you was impossible, JP. It was impossible. You were overwhelming force. I mean, seriously. I'm not here coming on your show to kiss your ass. You know that I'm always straight shooter. But you were that one of the kind. The thickness, width, completeness. It was overwhelming. If you would reach Dorian's conditioning, right? I mean, the show would be over.
Yeah.
And Milos, you have to imagine, Jean-Pierre had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah, that's it's over.
Well, that's maybe a little harsh, but yeah, it's close to. Do you remember the system I used for the so-called peak week?
No, don't tell me. Remind me. I don't remember.
So in 1989, I saw an article in the German Sport Review. Barry Dumay, the week of the show. So I copied that, and like every amount of fish, I copied that, exactly copied that. And it didn't work nowhere. It didn't work for me at all. And it was a massive amount of protein for 3 or 4 days, and then a massive amount of carbs for 2 or 3 days. I looked good like 1 day into loading, and no salt, almost no water for 3 days. So I'm almost surprised if this was true, that Barry looked this good. So I think he could have looked better too.
I don't doubt it. I'm serious. So Jean-Pierre and Ben, as you know, I've been around for 40 years. I've seen it all. I mean, when I coach people, I ask them to present me everything they did before, from exact diet, the timing, supplementation, amounts, which program they use on which body part, and then going into the show, how they cut down into the previous show and at their best. And then you look at it. So if you listen to Jay Cutler, for example, 2001, when he looked freaky, if you go back, he made a pro debut 98 at the Night of Champions. I think you were competing there too. Yeah. We were competing. You, Jay, and myself were all in that show. I think 98 Night of Champions.
98, yeah, 98.
Yeah, I think he beat us. And then, Jay was 12th. I was 11th. Then he goes 99 to Ironman. I beat him there. But then Arnold Classic, he beat me. 99, he was 15 out of 16 at Olympia, Jay Cutler. 2000, he was also nowhere. And
eight
then
or nine,
yeah, correct. And then 2001, he showed up looking freaky. So now when I'm on the podcast with him and we go back and forth, he didn't drink for almost 3 days. Okay? So I did this back in 1988 when I was competing in Miss Universe. One of those things is like, okay, how do you get dry? Well, you don't drink. So 3 days, I'm on the Arizona sun, because I didn't have the money for a protein, right? True story. I mean, broke as can be. So I'm just going to get the natural tan. So it's on the sun, but I can't drink water. So I had a little bit of ice cubes here and there. And then, brilliantly, I was using diuretic on top of it.
Wow.
Yeah, moderatic, if there's that hydrochlorothiazide, amyloid. Needless to say, I was bone dry. I mean, I was empty as can be. And I do remember, first sip of water when I took backstage, I literally felt somebody's piercing my chest with a knife. There was like one of those movies, oh my God. Closest thing when you get scared, like you could die. So I told Jay, like, what the hell, man? I mean, why would you? I want it to be dry. And then it hits me. Like I say, hold on, Jay, isn't that the year when you tested positive for diuretics? Yeah. And the story was how he tested positive for 5 diuretics. That's what Wayne DeMille was saying. But, Jay goes, come on, man. I don't even know 5 different ones. It's like, well, I guess you were on 4 because when you take like aldactazide is combination of 2, aldactone and spironolactone and hydrochlorothiazide, and then maybe Chris Acida threw in like some loop diuretics. But anyway, 3 days of not drinking and diuretics, and he looked phenomenal. I say, where did that fullness come from? I really don't get it. So, JP, like, we would sometimes question, are people telling the truth or they're bullshitting?
Right.
For example, a good friend, Nasser somebody, anything that he would say, of course, was the bullshit, because that was just his ideology. Give him some information and screw them up. I always give exact. You can ask me at midnight in January or July in next 10 years, I'm going to answer you always the same question, same answer, because truth is easy to remember, right?
But Jay didn't do any cardio for that show.
Exactly. Not even that. But he was young, and so Jay did many different things. He loaded with shitload of insulin every single day for weeks, or he didn't do insulin at all. And there's all these different preparations. I did 110 shows total, 72 times pro shows, right? And I kind of never repeated exactly the same thing. You always do the base, okay, and then I'm going to pick this, bring this. And then what happened here, what happened there? Seriously. So my approach, and even there was like one chance that Jean-Pierre and I were going to work, but then nothing happened. I mean, even that day, if it did work, you would see. I take your diet. I would take Ben's diet. Show me what you guys eating. The kind of food that fits your stomach perfectly, right? So you don't have a digestive issue, or you like eating this stuff. Before we started, I told you I had the same breakfast for 40 years. Now I have a same lunch for 50 years, for 5 years, right? I'm creature of habit. I like my food.
Right.
I know what I like tasting wise, what gives me the energy and nutrition that I need. So with all of my athletes, I adhere their diet, and then I tweak the amounts and times. And then we watch what's happening, and then increase. You have to drop this. This is how it is. It's not like I would give you no secret formula. How many bodybuilders don't know that you're supposed to eat the chicken and turkey and fish and beef and rice and vegetables? Like, I'm going to tell you something new. No. But if in Switzerland you guys have, I don't know, maybe I was eating breads all the time. So I don't know what is in Switzerland choice of carb, for example. But if you like that, there would be some kind of bread, or, I would give you that.
Well, it was bread, rice, and pasta and potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It just, this is how it is. But do bodybuilders lie? It's
sure.
It's very easy to see who it is. If you're not volunteering information, I've been open book all my life, right? So for people that even suspect that I lie, I said that's comical.
No, I don't believe it either. And I want to tell you a story. I mean, you have to tell us that story, because when I heard that story the first time, I was so fascinated from you as a man, as a person. You got all the respect in the world from me. Not that you need it. I'm just saying, right? Yeah. I'm like, wow, this guy Milos, unbelievable. And what I'm talking about, I think it was the 2006 IFBB World Championship, where you were a supervisor of a certain team. I don't remember what team it was, but this whole story, please tell the story again. It was so fascinating, and what you did and how they punished you. So yeah, please tell us that story.
If you do, see, I welcome that opportunity. Some people don't want me to talk, but truth should be told. Like Mahatma Gandhi said before, truth is truth. Even if you're a minority of one, speak the truth if you know you're right. So here it is. Imagine 2006, there was a world championship, IBB. I had a Malaysian government send me Malaysian guys to train in my gym. Tek Leo Leong and Cesare Samad. Yeah. And I prepared them, I mean, crazy. And those were true, legitimate drug-free guys. And how sometimes people are, no. These were tested, And I was with them. They stayed with me for like 2 months in the Coliseum gym.
Right.
Super strict diet, everything, right? Training twice a day, all this kind of stuff. They went to the championship. They won both. They won gold medals. And now they're flying back to Malaysia. And I got the phone call from Minister of Malaysian Sport and Youth. I even remember the name, Dato Azalina. And she told me, hello, sir. Thank you for the wonderful preparation of my athletes. They won the gold medals. But they were told at the championship by IBB president of Asia, Mr. Paul Chua, that they cannot win the gold medals as at the Asian Games in Qatar later that year. So now she's telling me that they cannot win. And I said, are you suggesting it's fixed? And I said, no, listen, Asian Games are like Olympic Games every 4 years. You know, it's punishable by law. There's no way that can be fixed and all that stuff, right? So this is how it is. I'm a purist. I believe in that, right? It's okay. Would you prepare them again? So, of course. So they came. I prepared them, and I flew to Qatar. Okay, and it's very interesting. You have to hear this. So when they came in month before the show, they had a list of every category and every medal in each category in advance. I said, okay, come on, that's somebody's conspiracy theorist and all that. I don't believe it. But then we go there, and the first category, I don't know, the 60 kilo, and the guys, okay, see, that Singaporean guy is going to win. And I look on the stage. This is like Mickey Mouse competing with Arnold Franco and, everybody else. I said, like, listen, there's no way that this guy can be a top 5, right?
Right.
Tip, 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 tip. He ended up in the middle, and he won the gold medal. Like, oh, shit, this is not happening, right? And the same thing with the second category and all that stuff. But Dennis James and I were friends at the time. He is, and we're friends now again, thank God. He was in Badr Bodai, Kuwait, oxygen gym. Right. So because Qatar is close, so, let's hop on the plane. Let's go see Milos. So they came to Qatar, and I just met Badr Bodai for the first time. And, I'm always like, man, this is happening, I hope it's not going to happen. I mean, my guy is really crazy shredded, crazy, complete, everything. No chance, right? And Badr Bodai said, Milos, you see this guy there? And he said his name. He paid to win. There's no way that your guy can win. I said, no. So, of course, they step on the stage, and there was the same thing, Mickey Mouse and Arnold. Jesus Christ, right? But Mickey Mouse won. Okay. So the same minister of youth and sport from Malaysia, she came to me and said, would you be so kind and at least give the TV interview for my country for them to realize, right? So, of course, I went on the interview and said, this is travesty. I'm ashamed. This is fixing of the worst kind. This should never happen, and blah, blah, blah. I told the truth.
Right.
I don't have a filter, Yeah. And, so that was my answer.
No.
Oh, my God. And then I realized what's up. So I went back to the States, right? And Paul Chua requested that I publicly apologize, right? And I said, I'm not going to do that. That's the truth. And so then they tried with Arnold also, like inviting me to the 2007 Arnold Classic, but they just apologized first and then we invite you. I'm not going to do it. And then Peter McGough from the office, he calls me and he goes like, listen, if you don't apologize, you're going to lose the contract. With the contract, Jean-Pierre was shooting in my gym. The gym contract, 6 years, we had a Flex magazine doing a photo shoots after every show, right? Vacation contract, everything. I said, listen, I am raised differently. I speak the truth. And if you guys want me to apologize for telling the truth, it's not going to happen ever. So he says, okay, just come in. You don't have to say it. Just sign a piece of paper. Okay. So I went to the office. I'm not afraid to tell the story. Robin Chang was the one delivering this message. And okay, just sign it. And I asked him, did you go to the bathroom this morning? I said, what do you mean? I said, well, wipe your ass with it. This is exactly what I said. And I mean, it's not like I want to put him on the spot on him. No, it was not about him. It's just like my answer to all that stuff. Right? No. No means no, and you're not going to rule me. Peter McGough hugged me and he says, listen, I cannot save you. So you're going to lose all the contracts. So I said, okay. I was financially solid. It's not like I depend on it.
Right.
It's okay. If that's your choice, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Okay. But then I wanted to compete 2007. And no. Now they suspended me. I said, what do you mean suspended? For what? For breaching a code of conduct.
For telling the truth.
No, but a code of conduct of IBB, like, what am I supposed to do? Not inform you? I informed the president. I mean, so just think about this now that we touch the subject and people are going to maybe listen. So I'm there witnessing all that. Okay, recognize, no, this is not just a rumor. This is the truth. It's happening right here. And then as James could tell you, many more stories, which I didn't even watch. But the heavyweights, they announce Victor on a radio before actually the heavyweights even started. Because they just were late and they didn't know, and the news already get the news, right?
Right.
But I just didn't want to apologize. But now they're suspending me for 1 year. And I don't know if you remember, there was a pictures of me and Jay Cutler 2006 Romania, when I was showing my abs and legs, and I was really shaving to actually surprise everybody and compete. I was in front of shape, and they suspended me right before the Ironman 2007. I'm like, oh man, okay. 1 year later, I apply. Nope, you still have to apologize. And 2009, after 3 years, I said, okay, then I gave up. 2010, Pavel Philiborn, who was in IBB next to Rafael Santoja, but he was representing the athletes. So how Bob Cicurillo is athletes representative with the officials. This is the other way around. So he calls me and says, "I have a good news. Your suspension is going to be revoked." I said, "Okay, good, great." He came to the office, right, and to my gym, and you're reinstated and everything else. But as a reinstated, they gave me again some paper that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I cannot do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, what do you mean? I can speak publicly about it. I can, publish anywhere. I took a picture and I put it on my website, on my So just to understand, you're not going to rule me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay,
Right.
I'm punished severely, and as you mentioned initially, that you actually respected. This is the honest to God truth. Was this good business decision? No, it was catastrophic. So business wise, I should do everything the opposite. If this happens tomorrow, I'll do exactly the same. There's no way I could be different.
So that was the end of photo shoots in your gym?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Imagine. But like I said, all my respect. Milos, wow.
Absolutely.
You're the man.
But just one thing, because JP, you have a story with Chris Land. And this. I love Chris Land. Imagine he was in the gym for weeks on time. Ben, imagine Ironman, Arnold Classic, and then Niagara Falls Night of Champions, Chicago, Pittsburgh, whatever, Olympia. All the best guys are coming before and after the show to take a picture in a gym. And so I'm there. It's the biggest entertainment you can ever think in your life, right?
Right.
And I was like this with Chris Land. So finally, among all the other people that were trying to convince me to sign, Chris Land calls me and he said, Milos, please sign that because they're telling me, to pack my stuff and walk away. If you don't sign it, I'm packing my stuff and I'm leaving. And apparently, I didn't even know that. I was screaming, yelling at him, like I was rude, which I don't remember, but I could imagine if you're telling me what to do. I say, hey, listen, all the respect, but don't tell me what to do. So that's why I didn't even talk to Chris Lund for 20 years, and I love the guy. So when I finally contacted him about a couple of years ago, I said, Chris, just explain to me. I mean, you went out of my gym, but we were friends. Why don't we, talk? Why didn't you keep in touch? He said, you tear my hat off. You don't remember? I said, like, no. But Chris, why? Because I just didn't want to accept to do what you're telling me and everybody else. I say, yeah, I know you're a hot-headed Serbian and all that stuff. It's not about being hot-headed, being righteous. My father always told me, do the right thing. Ask yourself, what is the right thing to do? Oh, they are cheaters. They're putting a shame on my federation, affecting the athletes. I should just be, you see, Pop, afraid, don't just play the game. Hell no. I'm going to report. And I reported at the highest level, which I thought this is the person I'm supposed to report.
You do the right thing. Yeah.
You are a rare breed, Milos, a rare breed. For
Milos,
sure.
what year did you go to the United States?
87, yes. And
so how did you get a visa back there? I mean, I started with a weightlifting visa and then even became illegal at some point. And how did that work for you?
Yeah, so you see, you're from Switzerland, so maybe it would be a little bit easier for you, but my country was socialistic with communistic government, right? And 23-year-old guy from Yugoslavia, there's no way in hell you can get the visa to go to America. But I entered some international show, WBF Federation, that's World Bodybuilding Federation, in Italy. And you see, also, please try to go back in 85, 6, 7. There was no magazines in Yugoslavia. There was no information. I didn't know IBB or any other Nabababa, right? So, Ben, when you competed 84, right? I thought this was like unbelievable world-class event. And would I think that IBB is bigger than NABA or BABA? I didn't know. So to make a long story short, I got the invitation to compete in this European Championship in Italy. Okay, so I don't have money. So you go by bus from Serbia to Montenegro to Bar. And then from Bar, you take a boat, the cheapest on the top, overnight to go to Bari, right? And then I went there to compete, not knowing, I don't speak English, I don't speak Italian, I don't, Jesus Christ. But that's a funny story because when I went there and I seen all these athletes coming in, for me, they all look like Jean-Pierre look in 96. Like it's, this monster, like, oh my God. So look at this monster. Anywhere I look, there's all monsters. And I'm like small little kid from Serbia. I want to, so it crossed my mind, you know what? I'm not going to compete. Jesus Christ, I'm just going to embarrass myself. So after that thought came to me, it's like, so what am I going to do all day? Like, you know what? I'm here already. Nobody's going to ever know that I was on the stage. I'm just going to compete. I step on the stage, and now they call in Italian dupli bicipiti, biceps, bicipiti. I don't understand nothing. I don't know European rules, right? So I'm just like looking what everybody else is doing. I'm doing the same thing, right? I placed second as a light heavyweight, and light heavyweight actually won the overall. And there was a 300,000 lira as a prize money, which is probably nothing really. But for me, 300,000 lira would be equivalent if I win 100,000 today. It's like, Oh my God. I was there. Now, there was many ladies screaming, right? They asked me all the photo shoots. I'm getting the money, and then president of the federation from England came. I said, I want to invite you to Mr. Universe in Arizona. I said, okay, so please. And I don't understand what he's saying. Somebody's translating, but they got me my address and everything. And then I got in a mail invitation for Mr. Universe. Just like, God, I didn't tell my parents because they would stop me. Just said, you know what? Let me go try to get a visa representing Yugoslavia. Da, da, da. Poof, I got the visa. Like, oh shit. Now I have to get the money to go to America, right? What do you mean money? I'm a student. I didn't make a penny. My parents were not giving money, right? So how do I do that? Anyway, there was a first time ever in Yugoslavia championship that the winner would get equivalent to like $1,100. Okay, so I thought, oh, this is my chance. So I go to the show, but I lost overall 3-2. Fikret Hadžić is a Yugoslavian Bosnian guy. He's phenomenal. Some people say that maybe I should beat him. No, he beat me deservingly. He's a really classy bodybuilder. He was way ahead of me, but I didn't get the money. But so what do I do now? But when I was at the show, all this Croatian and Slovenian and other promoters says, would you come, to guest pose, to do some pictures with the weights and all that? To make long story short, I made enough money for a ticket. Okay, so I still don't tell my parents. I'm in university. I'm supposed to finish and get the degree and all that stuff. But hey, I have this opportunity, right? So I bought a ticket, and finally, I decided I'm gonna tell my parents. And I told them my father was Dr. Science of neuropsychiatry. My mom was also a medical practitioner and all that stuff. I said, I want to go to represent Yugoslavia. So I think it's in every country when you're a patriot, and then your son can represent, the family to represent the country. That's a huge thing, right? So I thought that he would be excited. He said, no, you're not going. I said, well, I want to go. He said, no, well, I said, you're never going to get the visa. I said, I have a visa. And I showed him. And then this was already like, oh my God, okay, how you going to, pay for your ticket? I said, I got the ticket. And then that was it. Like, oh shit. Now, there was a time I was going to ask for some, change money to have something with me, but they're not going to give me anything. So like, I'm going to come back, next weekend. Yeah. So that was my story. Sorry to take this long, but for maybe some people from economically challenged countries that don't have money and all this stuff, if I did it back in that time, I said that story. I had a $428.10 in my pocket. I went to Tucson, Arizona. And now, because when I was in Italy, promoter paid for my hotel also, that time when I won 300,000 lira. So I'm thinking this federation, they inviting me, they're paying for hotel and everything. But I went there and they didn't pay for hotel. So my 2-night stay was already $200-something. It's like, oh shit. Now I have a 200, right? And then I have to go to San Diego. Then there was like $50 there. Bottom line, by the time I came to San Diego, don't speak English, don't have a working visa. So maybe, Jean-Pierre, you're talking about you had some borderline illegal situation. So of course, I have only touristic visa. I can work originally. But I had
no money.
and already no money, right? So I met two ladies in Italy on that trip, and anyway, they invited me. Make long story short, I stayed with them first, and then they took me to Jack LaLanne gym. And when I went to Jack LaLanne gym for an interview, I literally spoke Tarzan English, nothing. But I was 23 years old, in a Mr. Universe condition, right? You know,
Right.
in San Diego, you can imagine you showed up in tight shorts and a tank top, and manager was some, I remember, lady, Carrie. This lady could not shut up. She was just talking. And I was just like, yes, 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 yes. So anyway, the girl that took me there, she took me out later and said, yeah, you got the job. So what do you mean? You're supposed to come back Monday. Okay.
Cool.
I got the job, right? I don't speak English. I don't know how to talk. And I said, okay, no, first time I'm going to be a trainer. What do you? Oh, push, good, pull, squeeze. This was the level of my English. But in California, especially, Americans are friendly. They really try to help you. I mean, I learned English in a gym. I never went to school, of course.
Sure.
My English is not well, but it made me survive. However, I had to wait for 2 weeks, for my first paycheck, minimum wage, all that stuff. And then because I used the social security number of that girl that was going through her to take taxes, I got almost no money anyway. So my diet was, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I had zero money and I'm starving.
Right.
And I just remember when my father was telling somebody in one conversation, if a hungry man steals food to eat and survive, that's not a theft, right? So I was always raised, be honest, be giving, and don't steal,
Right.
don't lie, don't, okay. But I said, you know what? That's my father's approved. I'm going to steal the food and eat.
Where you went to the supermarket and just took some, or eat right there, or what do you do?
I had to eat right there. There's no way that I would. But even what can you possibly eat when you're going between the aisles? Yeah, I take a muffin, right? And it's so you kind of chew and enjoy it. You just inhale it. And it's like, oh man, yeah. Until I confessed to one of my friends, man, I was so embarrassed, I stole this food, and I said, when I get my paycheck, I want to go back there and pay. So what do you mean? What are you going to tell them? What are you paying them for? I said,
Right.
So anyway, that guy actually lent me the money to buy all the food, and I talk about my diet was egg whites and tuna and rice, because you
Right.
can buy a big old can of tuna literally like this.
Sure.
5 dozens of eggs for $4. Okay, and rice is chum change.
Right.
That's funny. But I had similar times in Zurich early in. Tuna fish saved all of us broke guys, Tuna fish, rice, water, and every few days I went to a restaurant and run away before I had to pay.
We're really all three very similar. I had to say,
that was my cheap meal.
For 3 days.
Yeah, so
you could run fast.
I could run fast, yes, at that time. Yeah, I had big canisters of protein. They were very, very cheap. I wouldn't want to know about the quality of it. Tuna fish, rice, and tomato spaghetti, tomato sauce. I ate that pretty much for days. And then when it was really, when it came out of my ears, I went to a restaurant and run. Yeah. I did that.
You know what I did? I had no money for food, so I bought 5 liter cacao. Remember this cacao, this milk cacao?
Yeah.
And that was all I was drinking all day, 5 liter cacao. I had no money for food, nothing.
But Milos, back, you had you lived with some famous people. Was that a little bit later? You had some famous roommates.
Yeah. Okay, so you see, by the time I came to the United States, of course, I was alone. Then my first pro show, I met Sonny Schmidt. And Sonny Schmidt placed second. So my first pro show, I placed third in San Jose. Ron Love won. And then, as you know, I competed. After I competed in the first show, every show that came, I competed. So San Jose, Niagara Falls, Night of the Champions, because I qualified for Olympia. Of course, I'm going to go to the Olympia. And then I go to European tour. In 1991, there was 6 shows, but one in a weekend. It's like Saturday is Germany, next Saturday is Spain, and so we stayed in Europe. Later on when you and I competed, Jean-Pierre, 97, it was like Monday here, Tuesday there, Wednesday there. So it's much easier. But 91, yeah. So when I was traveling there, I stayed with Sonny. I mean, we became friends. And then he told me, like, man, I live in Australia. You live in California. Can I come and live with you? So we'll be training partners. It was like perfect. Okay, so this is how I start. He was my first pro bodybuilder, training partner. But throughout the years, yeah, I mean, I trained with Sean Ray briefly. I trained with what do you call it? The Hiratari Yamagishi for a long time, right? Then Dennis Wolf when he came in, and Johnny Jackson, King Kamali, Joel Stubbs, Sylvia Samuel, Troy Alves. I mean, you were there briefly, Jean-Pierre, in a Coliseum gym. I don't know how many people you've seen then that were actually training there at the same time, but it was really that great atmosphere. The band, if you can imagine, 10 guys at any time you can see them then training. So you get that energy and that vibe,
Right,
you see Jean-Pierre doing there. And unfortunately, I was not there when Jean-Pierre injured himself at that photo shoot. I was like 15 minutes late. I'll never forgive myself. Chris Land wanted to do the real photo shoots. He didn't want to fake weights. He wanted actual effort. So when you squeeze and scream and whatever else, it's real. And I'm going to tell you, for those people that don't know, even when I look at some of my stupid pictures from early 91, 92, 93, Iron Man magazine, the guy, Mr. Mike Navi would say, oh yeah, you have to make that face, right? And if you don't make a face, he doesn't take a picture. And, it's like, you have to make that face. It was fake as can be, and I hate it. I mean, who trains like that? But with Chris Land, he actually makes you do like a bunch of reps with a heavy weight and you get tired. So and now, after you did 5-6 reps, this next 3-4, you're going to suffer, and he's going to see this in your face. So I want Jean-Pierre to tell us that story. But what I heard of, that lean close to the contest, Jean-Pierre Fuchs is doing 7 plate squats in my gym. Crazy. And gets injured.
Well, I always used heavy weights all the way to the end before legs, not for every body part. So this situation was a little different. It was very late in my career, and I did not focus on bodybuilding the way I should have anymore. I was working as a trainer, and in Palm Springs, we had this crazy real estate boom. So I had 5 people working for me. We worked day and night. And I was done with bodybuilding, but I kept kind of going on the side to keep that contract, which was over $80,000 a year. So it was not really fair from my part. And the week before, I shot a training video with Marcus Reinhardt. And I noticed that the 7 plates are unusually heavy. So I did five reps. So I had this thing. I always felt like my legs are very small at the end. So I felt like if I do like a powerlifting kind of training, because I never had any problem with cuts in my legs. I had crazy deep cuts. If I keep up some kind of powerlifting training with low reps all the way to the end, I can keep more size. As I probably also because some of the guys are so short, I always felt backstage when I looked at their legs, it's like, oh my God, those legs are huge.
Yeah,
so that was my way of training.
Problem.
And it worked out fine in the years I was fully focused on bodybuilding, and I was really strong, but I wasn't anymore. I came to the photo shoot tired, depleted. It's just kind of like mentally and physically, I wasn't there anymore. But I still did the reps like it was asked, and as I remember, I was called back because of some change in lighting.
So how is that? You did one set. You did one set.
I did 4 or 5 reps, whatever they asked me to with the weight, and they wanted to change something. So I was getting dressed. A few minutes passed, and he's like, "Look, we changed the light, as I remember, and could you just do a rep or two so we can change that?" And was your gym not open in the back? Was it a little bit windy there? I don't know if it was at Costa Mesa.
No, that was my gym for sure. But you open the doors at the back. You roll them up. Yeah.
So
That was right there.
If I would have considered doing that, what I shouldn't, I should say, okay, you got your chance. I'm done. I thought, okay, let's do it. And I should have started over again. Take the weights off and kind of start over again. As I took the weight out, I never experienced a weight like that. Not even when I did 8, 9 plates for 1 or 2 reps, in off season. I never experienced a load like that on my back. It was unnatural. It was something very different from what I ever experienced in any training before. And it was so funny when I went. I tried to do the negative very short, very very slow, 4 or 5 second negative. And it was like in slow motion. I knew exactly what happens. Like, this tendon snapped or this muscle snapped, the weight got on the other side, and I kind of fell back. It was all very, very slow. And then the rest is kind of history, was laying on the floor and they broke the ice. I always thought it was you, but as you told me, you came a little bit later. Yeah. And that was kind of the end of that. So any year, 95, 96, 97, even 94, till into 98, you could have put those 7, 8 plates for me there the day of the show. It would not be a problem. But I wasn't quite that strong anymore. I also knew a little bit in my back that, sure, I cannot convince them with placings anymore, but something is keeping them to keep that contract alive. So I kind of knew I gotta do this kind of stuff. I felt I have to. Now, of course, I see this totally different. And also, if the safety rails would have been in, I would have torn my left quad above the knee, and that would be it, which was healing fairly. But then the safety rails being gone and then crashing all the way down, that was totally different. Like a doctor who attended the surgery said is when we opened that knee, it didn't look like a sports accident. It looked like a bomb exploded in your right knee. And we did not even know how we're going to fix that. We drilled a hole here, we attached something there. This was all experimental. So my right knee never healed till I then finally replaced it 3 years back. But there was a lot of bad circumstances. And, the only thing I could maybe blame Riz on is I was totally a willing participant in using that weight. And I felt like this is the right thing to do, is the safety rails, put the freaking safety rails in. That might be it. But it's up to me to say, I don't want to do those kind of weights. I'm tired.
But we don't say no. That's the thing. I mean, really, when you think about it, I have a very hard time saying no for anybody in anything, but especially now you are at your job place, you're doing this for Weider and they want a magic shot. And, Chris Lund, you just got to love him. He wants to be there with you in every angle and capture that special light. I guess maybe he didn't have a perfect shot, so he wanted to do it again. But
But Jean-Pierre is a very nice guy too. I mean, if the same would happen with Craig Titus, he would just say, "Oh, fuck yourself, I'm not gonna do it."
Yeah. I know. But Jean-Pierre, if I can ask you, because I asked you before privately, but I want people to hear it. Here you are in Switzerland. It's not like the country that grew, many great pro bodybuilders. They have a long history of making of champions, right? And you came out of the nowhere looking like a Dorian Yates. I mean, that size was overwhelming. And you said that you kind of didn't know exactly what you're doing, but whatever you're doing obviously was creating magnificent results. So what do you attribute this, like, let's say in 5 years, what you created? How did you train? How did you eat? Like, volume, all this kind of stuff. I'm interested myself, because when I'm being asked, I say, I know this guy. So I know Jean-Pierre. I was super impressed from very beginning, and then we didn't talk to. But I know that you go heavy, but I want to know more details.
Well, I started my very first trainer was a Swiss champion, a light heavyweight Swiss champion. So from the beginning, I had a very good kind of education in how to train. So we started with, based on some studies I read by the guy who invented the Nautilus machines, Arthur Jones.
Dr. Jones.
I did. He was always talking, Christoph was his name, Christoph Oberholzer, light heavyweight champion in Switzerland, about how many repetitions complete in a workout, the 8 to 12 reps, how to control the negative. So this I did from day one. There was not a test phase when I went to the gym with 15 where I didn't know what I was doing. On day one, he was talking about that. I did, like many people did, the pyramid system, 4 sets, for the bigger body parts, 4 exercises, 4 exercises, 4 sets for the bigger body parts, and 3 for the exercises with 4 sets for the smaller ones. In 95, I got a little stuck with that. The first time the progress was early 95. So I was always reading about training. It's funny that I had this thirst to educate myself in that niche where other parts of professional bodybuilding I never really understood or never really did, like the posing, presentation, dialing in for shows. But then I was very convinced that I'm overtraining. And I also felt like with the pyramid system, I'm kind of holding back, and on set 1 or 2 sometimes. It could have been a couple of reps more. So I just cut that in half. I did for every exercise just 2 sets. One 8 to 12, the other one 6 to 8. Sometimes 1 or 2 sets per workout I did for 20, 25 reps, and even occasionally 50 to 100 reps for 1 set. So I think I had a very good balance there, how to work out and what works for my body. When I felt a little bit tired, I took a day off. That was working pretty well for me, that stuff.
So here I'm all ears. 94 you won a world championship. In 95 you took a whole year off.
Yes.
If I catch it, you said in 95 you felt like your progress is kind of holding. So
I felt like there's a better way of training, but I changed it very early in 95 where I just cut it all in half. And for back,
similar to the heavy duty, similar to Arthur
Yes.
Jones. Okay, but how many days in a row did you train?
So usually I trained 3 days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then I covered all my body parts. Thursday I took off. And then Friday, Saturday, they kind of always changed a little bit. Wherever I felt I need a little bit more, I did specialty workouts, like I called it. I need a little bit more. And that changed from time to time. And I did some crazy stuff, although if Dave would ever listen to this, Dave Palumbo, he cut me off right away when I tried to talk about it. I always did crazy shock stuff when I didn't progress somewhere. So when I was younger, we had this weird combination of characters in our gym. Our gym had 7 Swiss champions at some point. This is a small gym in the mountains. And there was one guy with huge legs, one guy with a huge chest, huge triceps. And although I know now genetics plays a big part of it, but I started to design, that kind of my training after, let's see what this guy does for the legs. So I asked the guy, Rene was his name. He turned out to become one of the best bench press guys in the world many, many years later. How you get legs like that? He's like, well, I shock him every few weeks. Our gym was right at the bottom of a mountain pass, very steep mountain pass, Simplon Pass, who goes into Italy. So I said, I warm up on the Hacksmith all the way up to do a 4 or 5 sets, slight, progressive, add more and more weight, till I end up about 10 reps. Then I go out, take the bike, and I sprint up the mountain as far as I can. I sprint. Then I roll back to the gym, go to the Hacksmith, and do 1 set to total exhaustion. And I swear to God, every time I did something like that, something happened. It just got me to the next level. of course, Dave said to me, "It's total garbage, JP. That has nothing to do with any scientific. There's no scientific evidence to any of that, you know." So I always did stuff like that for different body parts. So at the end, even my genetically very weak body parts were somewhat presentable because I constantly kind of pushed them, you know, where the stuff who worked well, I just trained Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with a regular once a week split kind of.
I love it. I mean, listen, you're the real life experience. And I mean, we are the bro science and let the pro science do the whatever they want. I say this always, gram of practice is heavier than a ton of theory. When my pencil neck goes there and take the book and in going telling Ronnie Coleman, no, this is not how you train your back, right? And shut the fuck up, you know. So, but this is super interesting, and I would love to hear more. So crazy hack squats, okay, go sprint out the back and then go back and do one set all out to exhaustion, crazy, and your legs grew like a maniac. But then you say you did this for other body parts too. I mean,
but I never did. I never did a shock training more than every 3 weeks for a certain body part. So at some point, for example, my hamstrings, I felt like it could be a little better. You know, I probably seen somebody at the FIBO or I don't know what, which shocked me. So I talked to a couple of friends, said, what can we do? Like a real shock for hamstrings, but you also don't want to tear your hamstring. You know, it's like, so I felt like, well, in my negative motion, I'm way stronger than in my positive motion. So there must be a way to kind of take advantage of that to create more muscle tear, kind of more breakdown. So I did 3 or 4 sets, worked myself up to a weight where I could do 5 reps. You know, I did like 8 to 12, 8 reps, and then third set, 5 reps. Then I added 30% of weight to that. 1 or 2 guys had to bring the weight up for me, and I lowered it over 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You could do about 3. The 4th one was already kind of collapsing. On the 5th one, it was just like, you know, collapsing on you. And then after that, I waited 3 or 4 minutes, and then just a very light pump set, 15 to 20 after that. But I never did that more than every 3 weeks. I felt like, you know, every shock kind of I put on a muscle, I have to be careful. I don't want to tear the muscle. Yeah. And my hamstrings blew up in a very short time. It's just stuff like that kind of worked for me. So I had a very good way of training, you know, not overtraining. My workouts were very, very short. And I also today I'm a little bit feel different about the next point I'm making. This whole thing was told to us that you have to train to total exhaustion. You know, the last rep has to be the last reps, and then in best another workout partner comes in and helps you another 2 or 3. I made absolutely sure of that. So like in the squats, we put the safety rails in. Kind of funny. I was big into safety rails. And I made sure the last rep ends up on the safety rails and not back in the stand. Okay. So when I look at Dorian's crazy kind of sets, I was probably the closest to him in that regard. Today, I think I would probably, if I could go back in time, like, you know, you can't do it, of course, I'd probably lose up a little bit on the last couple of reps and maybe add a set or 2 to make it a little bit more thinking of longevity. But it did really work as long as I was really focused on bodybuilding. Later on, other things became wrong. You know, I became a victim of food, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
but I'm a big fan of shock training too. I always wanted to have legs like Tom Platz. He was my idol, right? So what I did every 3 months, I did 50 sets of squats. And I swear to you, first of all, I couldn't sit 1 week on the toilet, right? But after that 1 week, they always grew at least 1 centimeter. I swear. Yeah.
There's one system we used. My workout partner at the time, his name was Gaston, huge arms. So we felt like it's time now. We have to give a push on the legs. So we had 2 squat racks in that small gym in southern Switzerland right next to each other. So we took a weight, which we can do comfortably, like 12 reps. We could do 15 to 18, maybe 20, but comfortably 12. So we both were choosing our weights. I did 12, he did 12. I did 12, he did 12. When he put it back in, I did mine. I said, whoever stops first has to pay lunch for a week. So it was absolutely crazy. I was close to give up. We're like 40 minutes into this, and the freaking guy is still going next to me. Yeah? It was absolutely incredible. Afterwards, we went to a cafe to have lunch. We had lunch, and suddenly my leg popped up like a leg extension. I had a cramp in my upper thigh. You could see my bone, and it just didn't lose up. I thought I'm going to break my leg. And he had to get his car to the front of the cafe, and the cafe was packed with people. And I was on all four, like getting out to his car. But I was totally convinced. And then I went even further. I went to the car and put the electrical stimulation on, the electrodes, and was putting that thing up, to stimulate even more. So again, it was no science behind it. It was just pure instinct, and it worked to a big degree. And then another thing, I think I was one of the early ones, maybe after I have a question for you, that I was maybe one of the earlier ones who kind of got the insulin part right.
Yeah, I don't know when you started, but listen, this is music to my ears. Jean-Pierre, I can tell. I would be more specific, ask you each body part, each exercise, what crazy stuff you did. I love it. I love hearing this. Right?
Triceps was a big issue for me.
What?
Triceps was a big issue for me. My triceps, naturally, kind of like Saint Genetics as Marcus rule, my triceps goes to the inside. Naturally, if I would be a guy who never trained, but you know how important triceps is in a front double biceps pose and stuff like that.
There's a story about Jean-Pierre, how he runs after a woman who had a great tricep. And he's like, how do you train triceps?
Yeah.
Tell us the story, Jean-Pierre.
Triceps, I tried. I did all kinds of crazy stuff, and it did not work. It just did not work. So I trained in Liechtenstein for 6 months, a little kingdom between Austria and Switzerland, where everybody is rich and arrogant. Different place. So this woman walks in. She is not even a figure girl or fitness girl. She's a regular woman walking in, and she has a huge freaking triceps. I said, what the hell? So I went up to her and said, look, what is that? And she's like, yeah, I love to train my triceps, I said, well, what do you do? Can I join in? She says, oh, okay, let's train triceps together. So I cannot believe what this woman did. So we warmed up regular 2 or 3 sets on the cable, push downs or press downs or whatever you call it, 12, 15 reps. So then she went on a bench with a small short backrest for overhead extensions. So she chose a weight where she can do 50 reps.
50. Okay.
So in my case, it was, I don't know, easier, but 120, 130 pound dumbbell or so. I did the 50 reps. Then she went up next set for about 30, 35 reps. She went up in weight till she could only do 8 to 12 reps. I said, how do you come up with this stuff? It just feels good, So then when after the set of 8 to 12, she did a drop set with all the weights she used before, a drop set. So then after that, she took the original weight. She started with 50 reps, and she says, now I need to try to do those 50 reps again with the original first weight. And I did it maybe every 2 weeks or so. And finally, my triceps started growing. Finally, so
you should publish that triceps. Do you remember the name of the lady?
No, I do not. It's funny. I think about there's something. Hey, if that exercise, I have another kind of funny story. One of my first photo shoots with Chris Lunt, said to me, is there any exercises you're really strong in? I said, yeah, the overhead extensions guy, And he's like, well, as a matter of fact, we have a 200-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
You don't have to really do it. We can put a bench in the back or something like that. It's not Chris-like, but, if you could just kind of like, and I said, I won't do that. I won't do that. I'm not going to pretend to people I can do certain things. And but I can do 200 pounds. I did 38 reps.
With the 200 pounds.
38 reps. Maybe not the deepest, I did 38 reps. Wow. So A few months later, he said, "Oh, there's going to be a cover." I seen Gaspari having a cover with that exercise. I never got the cover, but he got some amazing pictures of that.
Yeah.
Milos, listen, you did 72 pro shows. That's correct, right? But what I found really fascinating is that in many shows you did not even prepare. You were like, wait, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
It's not like
a show. Let's go.
Let's define this. It would sound like, oh yeah, I'm just like today. I decided, oh, there's a contest. Let me go. I was always training and I was always in shape. I have those journals from 1987 to 2003, and when you pick, I have here a couple of them. It was usually twice a day, 6 days a week. I mean, you see, this is the bro science. For me, more is more, not this less is more, like Mike Menzer, Arthur Jones. I mean, and it's great. I mean, I'm hearing from Jean-Pierre Fuchs, who I respect immensely, and he has packed more muscle on him than I ever did on me, right? So when, could I? But I trained with Dorian in England, in my gym, Colosseum, and in Gold Gym. I actually tried to train to see, is he really training like this? Because I didn't believe it. There's no way that you can do just like so little reps, so many sets, and then grow like this. But he's honest to himself. And I want to ask Jean-Pierre also to explain to me exactly from 4 exercises, 4 sets each on a big body part, and then 3 exercises, 4 sets each on a small body part. In 95, he reduced to the half. So it was only 2 exercises, I guess, and only 2 sets, right?
No, still 4 exercises, but only 2 sets.
Still 4 exercises. Okay. It's a little bit more than what Dorian was doing there. But you see, this is my issue. What choice of weight can you put in that first initial set and a second? So second set, you had an all-out theory already. Okay, so what is going to be your warm-up set, so to speak? But you already said you put something 8 to 12.
No, that's our pure working set. They were pure working sets. Assuming now starting with an incline dumbbell press, I still do a set of 20 reps, one of 15 reps. With relatively light weights, one of 8 to 12, but just
but
not
you don't
pushing
count.
it. No, I don't count them. But
okay.
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
we define. You don't count.
And then depending on what exercise to switch to, you need more or less of those warm-ups. But I made sure I'm ready for that.
Yeah, so you did the 20 reps and then 15. So you did progressive overload anyway.
Yeah.
And then but you just count those 2. You see
Correct.
what many people later they're doing now, some of the pros. They're targeting those 2. They're going to go too heavy, right? But that before that, they don't do hold 20 and hold 15 and 12 or whatever. They just do 4 or 5 reps here, drop it. Raise the weight, 4 or 5, drop it, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to this, because I have a long history myself, and you're kind of known for it. When did you start insulin, and how did that all start?
Okay, so here it is. In 92, I got some handwritings from DDR, Eastern European lifters, and everything they were doing. So from GH to the 3 groups of anabolic steroids, DHT, the testosterone based, and then testosterone, nandrolones. So the 3 groups, and then you pick to boost your steroid levels. You pick 1 from each group, and combine them synergetically, right? So the 3 groups. Okay, so that's something that I consider. Then how to use GH. Okay, then there was a bunch of stuff. I remember methyl uracil, potassium orotate, blah blah blah. The what was methyl dopa things. There was so many things on the list, but among other things, there was insulin. I said, insulin. Oh, shit. Okay, so what is it? How you do it? Why is there? So when I started researching a little bit, and there was insulin from pigs back in the day, there was being used. So anabolic hormone, storage hormone, it can store and all that stuff, but you need to know how to control it. So of course, me being from a medical family, I asked my medical family. They told me to go fuck myself. you know, don't even try. I said, okay, let me go to the pharmacologist and ask us. No, no, no. But I said, like, listen, every time, right? This is how they do reverse engineering. So if I want to use something, I need to know how that works. So say every insulin has a onset when it starts working, peak, and duration. That pharmacokinetic, pharmacodynamic data, right? So this is when you inject it, this is going to happen. Okay, so now what do I need to do? Oh, you need to create environment that your body is accustomed to. What is it? The only time when insulin is released is when blood sugar level is elevated. So blood sugar elevated, insulin is there. Okay, so now if my blood sugar is not elevated and I inject insulin, I'm going to go hypo. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to create the balance. I shoot this and I need to bring the level. But at that time, nobody would tell me how much is that, right? And I tell you, as international units, you know how we were using GH. So you use a 1, 2, 3, 4 units of GH, right? Not too many people are going up to 10, but let's say 4. So you take, the same goes with international units of insulin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's really nothing. I mean, it's like spit in the ocean, right? But I say, oh, no, this is not working. Let me, do 10. And then for 10, according to the onset when it's going to start working, I need to, put some glucose. And then how much? So it's back then there was Humulin R, L, N, U. There was not Humalog. Humalog is very easy to control. 15 minutes onset, 45 peak, 2 hours strong and out. But this was like 8 hours. So it's like all these 8 hours, I have to be safe and not be in a hypoglycemic shock. So how do you do that? I have to have a certain amount of carbs. So I would shoot the insulin and I would have so much carbs and then, okay, I'm just waiting. And then I go hypoglycemic, like, oh shit, I need more, right? So then I had to adjust it. So I went from 2 grams per unit, 3 grams, 4, 5. And finally, I found it back in the day, like 10 grams of glucose per unit is super safe. Not needed that much exactly, but nobody's going to go into hypo if they use 10. So when I start advising people, I would, tell them 10 grams per unit and time it properly. But you see, for me and all these enemies of the insulin, they say, that's a bad thing and all this stuff. I say, hold on a second. Let's put in perspective. Why do you take anabolic steroids? Anabolic, constructive metabolism is going to make you build tissue. Here is anabolic hormone, insulin, storage hormone, stores. Don't you want to store? Yeah, I want to store good things in a good place. Correct. You don't want to store bad things in a bad place, fat into the body fat, right? But so how can I now ensure that good things, amino acids and glucose, are going to go to the good place? If I take before the workout and now blood is going to be in the muscle and glucose, amino acids, insulin push out of the blood, where? Only in the muscle. There's no other place to go. It's okay. This makes sense to me. Let me do it. So I start doing it before the workout and then immediately after. Not a scientist, obviously, bro science, but that made sense to me. And that's what I started doing. And I exploded. And then you know what happened with Nasser al-Sabari from 94 to 95, when I explained him, how to do it. And then after that, word went around and I was basically teaching everybody how to do it. For some reason, insulin is labeled like, it's the most terrible thing in the world and all this stuff. I said, look, if misused, it can be your worst enemy. If properly used, it's your best friend. I mean, if you don't call it insulin, if I just now tell you, okay, Ben and Jean-Pierre, let's make money. We have a transport agent. It's some exotic thing nobody knows. And this thing, is going to push everything out of the blood straight into the muscle and nail it in the muscle. Would everybody be interested? Hell yeah. Oh shit, this can be a miracle. Well,
Right.
that's now that you ask, and thank you for letting me finish. This was my approach, and it worked tremendously. But what happened with the guys? They were taking all day long, or they were using a long acting, and then they had a high fat diet, and then you have a triglycerides in the bloodstream, and insulin is not forgiving. It's not selective. Everything, everywhere. Everything means glucose, yeah, amino acid, yes, but also triglycerides everywhere. It can be intramuscular triglycerides, or it can shoot into the fat. Nice. Yeah, it's going to happen. That's why diabetic are usually fat, because it's very hard to control. But you see, if you let the dog out of the leash just to protect you and fight the enemy, that's the dog is beautiful savior, right? Keep him there. He doesn't need to be biting all your neighbors all day long. So I would only introduce insulin for the training and immediately after, as the physiological preference after training of the body is not brain, whatever tissue and organ, it's the muscle tissue. So that window of opportunity in a few hours, it's sending everything back. So my approach was just before training and right after.
Right. Makes totally sense, actually.
Yeah.
Totally. Milos.
Well, I was a little bit behind you. It looks like I was very interested in 94, but it decided against it because I had this attitude: I have to turn pro with as little interference as possible. It was a mistake, but I didn't even take GH, for the Mr. Universe. And then afterwards, I right away started, and I thought the best way is to go to the United States and ask the best. And unfortunately, I didn't ask you. I didn't even see you. I walked into Gold's gym, and who is the biggest guy? Mike Christian was training. And although I think he was not really competing anymore, but he was the most impressive guy. So I asked him, and he laughed loud out. I had a translator with me. I didn't speak English. And he's like, I have no clue. I did once, and I overdid it, and I had to eat chocolate for hours. And I told my friend, I said, look, they're not going to tell us here. They're lying. They're not going to tell us. But I think now, knowing Mike, he really didn't really know,
he didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Yeah.
So then I run into this somewhat famous Austrian bodybuilder, Roland Kitchinger. He was in the magazines a little bit already. I think had some kind of weeder, I don't know, contract or. So let me ask him. He was a big guy. He wanted a bunch of money for it. So I didn't want to pay it, and I didn't really believe that he would probably give us a lot of information because I wanted to talk to the best. So I went back to Switzerland and started to talk to doctors, people who work with diabetics, and they couldn't really quite understand why I want to do such a thing. But one was very willing. Let me think about it, in the purpose of building muscle, and he kind of gave me a plan, which was, I think, fairly good. He said there's two kinds of insulin, one to kind of around workouts or after workouts to kind of push nutrients in that phase. And there's others which you need because, there's insulin sensitivity issues. So check your blood sugar in the morning. And Milos, which one was the longest one? N
at the time. Now it's the Lantus.
Was it like 12 hours, 24 hours? What was
24
it?
24 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
24 hours, yeah.
So religiously, I checked my blood sugar in the morning, and it was over 90, 95, 2 or 3 days in a row. I started to use N. And then I was kind of perfect in the morning in off season. And after the workout, I pushed. I didn't quite figure out the during pre-workout thing, unfortunately. After the workout, I pushed the shorter one. When also, I think 10 grams of carbs per unit. And I started to sometimes train twice a day. Made sure I start the first workout very early and the one early afternoon, because the shortest insulin was 5-6 hours back then.
Yeah. Well, you see, I have here. I don't know if you guys can see it. There is N plus R, and then R and R. It's right. So I usually say 17 units of N and 8 units of R, and then 10 R later for the workouts. Yeah, I don't know which year did Humalog appear. Humalog is ideal. It's like almost identical to endogenous insulin, but N was peaking 24 hours several times a day, which if you're on N, you really need to be on no fat all day and maintain complex carbs throughout the day just to maintain glycemia, just in case. And even then, maybe shit can happen and there's a moment that you can go hypo. So you have to, expect that. So I would have always glucose tablets ready just in case, But that basal insulin, you see, for me, if you do just spike it for the workout, but the rest of the day you don't mess with insulin. You just you don't eat carbs. Why would you need only carbs as a fuel for muscle contractions? The rest of the days when you're going to watch TV and do whatever, you can get your fats. So this is how it. Or you can do slow starchy carbs and just monitor it. But the thing is like this. Okay, Jean-Pierre, if you and I right now are young and they're going to offer us $1 billion if we win the Olympia, for example, in 1 year, okay, and so you have to use all the knowledge, everything possible to make you maximize your gains, right? So all the training, all the nutrition, all the diet, blah, 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 supplements, and then pharmacological things, whatever you're using. Now, insulin or no insulin? Of course. I tell this to everybody. Of course. So, when how many times you've seen insulin guy, bad, I ruined bodybuilding. They point finger at me, I'm ruining the bodybuilding. Really? Did I ruin myself? I'm healthy as can be. I used it for 13 years. I never had the issue. Like, am I diabetic? My resting morning glucose is 70, 80. Always been, always is like this. Like, shit. My blood pressure is 110/70. Just in general. Yeah, we push the envelope, right? But extreme, but again, at a limited level that you're still in control. The bad thing is, you see, when people go, okay, now I'm just going to go crazy. And because you were there with Nasser about it, this is my issue when I fight Nasser. I mentioned Sonny Schmidt as my old training partner, right? So as my old training partner, he went back to Australia, and then he came back for the Masters Olympia. I prepare him, and I can't count on him to time everything properly. So I gave him the insulin and gave him the carbs, and everything was perfect. He won Masters Olympia, all this stuff. But that year, maybe you went there, 95. He went to European Grand Prix Tour, and I didn't go. No, it's 96, maybe. It's just like one of the very rare night of the European tours that I didn't go to. And so Sonny went to Nasser to ask him for the insulin, because I didn't want to give him. I don't trust you. You're going to kill yourself. So I didn't want to even, have the idea. So of course Nasser gave him and told him the wrong thing, to use 60 units at a time. And you don't need much carbs and stuff like that, right? And then he would go hypo, and then when contest prep, you go hypo. Like Mike Christian was reaching for a chocolate or anything. Like anybody, there's an European Grand Prix Tour, and they are running for the first sugar they can get, on it, and then it screws you up. Of course, if you are deeply hypo and tend to get yourself out, you have more carbs than you probably need, and screwed up your condition. So when Sonny told me this, I called Nasser and said, like, you're a piece of shit, and this is this is when I break away from him. I didn't want to. I was really bothered by it, and he was just laughing, dying laughing. I said, eliminate the competition. I said, Nasser, there's one thing, giving somebody something that they can screwed up condition, and completely different, they can kill themselves, right? So I don't take this as a joke. And this was really, I never really discussed this in great details. And then later on, when Nasser approached me, this, maybe I was going a little bit over the board. I say, you think, that's not fun. But
yeah, dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I want to quickly, get to your evolution when it comes to training.
Yeah.
And we talked about me, and that's really not about me. So how did that, not year by year, but how did it start, and how did it lead to giant sets, and how does that really exactly work for people who don't know?
Yes. Okay. Now you said something interesting that I want to first focus on, and then I'm going to explain it. You said that knowing now, you probably wouldn't go as heavy into the failure every time before. I understand. I was like you. When you come in, it's like, tough man sport. Go heavy or go home. Fail. Go as many as you can, and then you do a couple of force reps, which is above and beyond what you can do it. You interestingly said you did just eccentric. Part of my training would be I go as heavy as I can, and then I do one set with the 2, 3, 4 reps, and then very last set of that exercise, I would do more weight that I can do positive, but I would do just negative. So I would have if I'm incline benching, right? I would have 2 training partners lift the weight for me, right? And I go down eccentrically, right? I cannot push up. They will lift it up for me, and then I would just go eccentrically. It's just to kill the muscle. So in my head, I now gave all the heavy stimulation, fast twitch fibers, eccentrically, concentrically, all that stuff, right? But that was for me myofibril hypertrophy. That of the kind which Arthur Jones, Mike Manzer, Dorian, maybe that's all they talk about. But the other aspect is pump, 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 pump. Since the day one, you listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, pump, pump. If it's not burning, it's not growing, and pumping, volumization, that sarcoplasmic pump, especially when it came with the insulin, right? And when you reach this, it's like, listen, anytime I go heavy, super heavy, I'm not so pumped. I'm, but you feel drained, you get sore, and all it says, yeah, you fail, but everything fails. Your muscle, tendon, ligament, everything, right? So say, how about if I just go short of failing? So I did the higher reps, and okay, well, then you can do the drop sets, okay, but then with the same exercise. But then I said, okay, let me do the supersets, and then you said, how far can I go? There was a moment, and I tell this story. Hidetade Yamagishi came in 2006 in my gym, and he never thought in a million years he's going to qualify for Olympia. But I've seen his work ethics, and I said, like, okay, he can qualify for Olympia. And business, that was my only good business decision. I told him to ask his sponsors if they're going to give me 50 grand bonus if he qualifies for Olympia. So neither he or they believed he could. So they agree. And now I had that 1 year, right? It's like, okay, I have that 1 year. I have to be true to myself. How do I maximize this? So we always get like 2 exercises for body part, progressive overload, very heavy, and all that stuff. Just 1 second, But after that, as you can imagine, I use insulin with the Hide during a training. It's okay, whatever pumps you, and you keep drinking these intra-workout drinks in between sets, right? So you're maintaining glucose delivery, amino acids delivery, all this, So it's okay. First day we did like 3 different exercises, but then next day I said, like, okay, we have to how to do our previous workout. So let's make it more challenging. Then we went to 4 and a 5. And then we started doing this stupid, crazy shit. Okay, I many times I went way overboard. I'm going to be first one to say it, right? But if you're truly going for the maximum pump, you change a little bit angle, a little bit grip, a little bit tempo, a little bit type of contraction, mix it in. And not to be rude, I just said that the other day. Yes, we are in a community that stick to the basics. Basic. Okay, old school, just this is like telling somebody, okay, you can only have sex in a missionary position. Same range, same tempo, same angle, same, okay. Really? I can, try to spice it up. So for that reason, in every exercise, and take any basic movement, I said, what can I change in this exercise right now to hit the muscle fibers that I usually don't use? I'm not going to be scientific and talk about dormant muscle fibers and all this shit. No. But you know how it is. If you keep pushing, and your body normally uses just certain fibers, but then you finish this exercise, you just change a little angle and continue stimulating same muscle, but some different fibers are working, which I figured when I changed all this. I choose the exercises that I'm going to do, in and outer, upper, lower, long head, short head, stuff like that. I'm not a scientist. I'm just having fun. Okay. Push to the limit. So right. What I know now is that it's very safe. It's very safe. I wish I did it all my career, but I'm 59. I don't know how old are you, Ben, and Jay? I'm probably the oldest one.
No,
62.
Yeah, 62 right here.
So yeah, but our joints are not like back in the 20s and 30s. Okay, because body is not designed to take this kind of punishment for years. Okay, right. So knowing now what I wish I listened to my dad back in the day when he hot shot, wait until you're older. I didn't think it's going to affect me because, when you're Superman and like
sure. Invincible,
8-9 plates on the squats,
right?
8-9 plates on the squats. I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, I was doing 6.5 plates, and I thought I was a Superman, right? So now imagine 9 plates. I went yesterday, by the way, to orthopedic, and I'm going to have a knee surgery, another knee surgery. Speaking of that, if you train to stimulate, like Haney was talking, stimulate, don't annihilate.
Right.
When I was talking to Bill Pearl, he struck me like, oh, I say, failure. Do you go to failure? I say, Milos, why would I want to fail in anything? Right. And, when somebody makes that point, there's just like, oh, you did made a point. Stimulate the muscle. Jean-Pierre, you were way bigger than I ever was. So, yeah, of course, you stimulated more hypertrophy and growth. But I'm sure that you've seen some guys that never train super heavy and they're crazy, big. Right. So is this absolutely necessary? Now, for longevity reasons, now when you put in consideration everything, all these young bodybuilders, 20 years old, 30 years old, they don't think about what's going to happen when they're 40 and 50 when they're our age. But now our age group should tell them, hey, listen, use our experience, lighten up. You don't need to push that heavy. That's right. A risk.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I think that, that crazy stuff, it was also a pretty short phase, 95, 96 to 97. And in 98, I was the first time really punished for it. When I look at my record as a competitor, there is one show who was laid out for me to win. And that was the one I competed with you in Toronto. I was a few weeks before in the absolute best shape of my life. I had a guest posing in Hamburg. People send me pictures of that today. I was black and white, absolutely freaking crazy. And the competitor field, usually I competed. Was always people from the top 5 at Olympia were competing. That show, was you, Powell, and other than that,
it was. There was Jason Martz.
Porter Contrell, maybe closer to the end of his career. I was convinced this is the show I can finally break through and win. And the first time I ripped something really badly on my triceps about 10 days before, and was in immense pain, went to that show. And then I tried for the only second time to load with insulin. And I looked like I was not even myself. I looked like a piece of crap on that show. And it started to show me the limitations of my body. It's in the 98. Things started to change a little bit, and I should have been smarter changing the training, getting a little bit more away from what I used to do. I just didn't really recognize it in time. That was funny. That when I went to Toronto, I was loading massive amount of carbs. I don't even know if I was fully depleted. And I had to get this insulin into Canada.
Good luck.
And, as we know, Canada is a little on the more difficult side when it comes to border. So I had those heavy shoes with steel in the front. So I was thinking, okay, if they kind of come and to check on if I have any weapons or anything, I can refer to my shoes. So I put an insulin pen into my socks to get it in there. And the guy was constantly, there's something wrong down there. And I said, it's the shoes. But you could see the freaking insulin pen through the socks, But they took me to a room, and I had to strip down to nothing, but they didn't ask me to take off my socks for whatever reason. And I had some Anawar and stuff underneath my balls. Oh my God. It's like, what a freaking mess, guy, So I went to the show, and you said
they didn't find nothing?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, man.
Maybe he was just being nice. So it's like, that's I was sweating like a pig there from all this carb loading. And he's like, why are you sweating so much, I said, well, I'm a big guy, but I was
a little hyper too, because of the panic mode.
It was a freaking mess. And I know on the plane I was eating massive amount of rice every 2 hours. I was already overloaded. And you said to me backstage something, for God's sake, you got to show up in shape. Like
You're
that.
fat.
That sounds like me.
Yeah.
It sounds like me because, sorry to interrupt you, and Ben, because you said that earlier. I didn't supposed to compete for that show at all. Like I did 99, 98 all the shows, and then 99 Ironman and Arnold Classic, and was not in my plan whatsoever to compete. But then somebody asked me 2 weeks out, "Will you compete?" And then I said, like, "Oh shit, Jean-Pierre is competing. I mean, he's a monster, but I said, okay, I can probably, play second to him, shit. And maybe he's not going to be in shape. This is what I was going. But I was not on, but I still play second there. But I do remember when I saw you off, now that you said, I told you that I'm a competitor, but I'm also a fan. So fan came to you and said, like, you have to be in shape.
Right.
Competitors, oh, thank God he's off.
Right.
But
So-
yeah.
And I called Nasser after the pre-judging, and I said, it's not going well here. I'll be somewhere around 7 or 8, and my elbow feels like in the ab pose and thing is going to snap every freaking second. My triceps is gonna snap off my elbow. And he's like, this is not good for the Olympia. This is very, 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 very bad. Leave the show. Leave the freaking show. I like, well, I don't want to really do that. I mean, we've seen Dorian compete in pain with, triceps being almost coming off his bone. and he's like telling you, you can't get out of this show, get out of this show, you have to. So I say to Wayne that it's so much pain. It was not true. I could, of course, if I would have competed for the win, I would have stayed in the show, of course.
Right.
And he sent me to a hospital to take some kind of MRI, but that wasn't possible. Then I went to California, and I was, I think, supposed to compete. I think it was the Night of Champions a few weeks later.
Yeah.
And but I lost interest, in competing if the injury didn't really heal well, and I competed. I decided against it. Had to send all kinds of information to the IFBB or to Wayne about my injury with MRIs and X-rays and all kinds of stuff, and didn't compete. But that was always the show. Thought, this was mine for the taking there, and I really failed terribly.
Well, you said you were in crazy shape, right? Before
2 weeks before, I was in Hamburg. I want to send you those pictures.
Yeah,
not the sharpest, but it was crazy. It was best shape I've ever had, and then just screwed it up. Okay.
Milos.
Yeah.
Synthol. You thought back then your arms were too skinny, so you started shooting Synthol in your arms, which many people did, but you had a really bad experience. I mean, you almost died on that stuff, right?
Biggest mistake of my life. I said this. It's much easier to avoid and not talk about it because I make myself look like a fool. But I'm always, like I said, straightforward and honest. This is how I went, right? Needless to say, I was told many times by experts, if I have a bigger arms, I would be very competitive, right?
Right.
So, you probably heard the story. 97 Olympia. Flex Filler didn't compete. Dorian Yates' business partner, Carrie Case, was coming to me and say, "Can you find Flex?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Oh, I'm supposed to give him this, and he's gone, and I need to go to the airport." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" And I was like, "Synthol, right? 12 bottles." I was like, "Oh shit! So what is it?" And he told me. I said, "Well, that sounds interesting." Can I get some too? I said, "Just take half." All right. So this is how it started. Now, needless to say, for us, I mean, that spent years of training and you just didn't get the arms at the level of the other ones, you say, okay, listen, some other guys are doing it, and I don't want to name the names. I heard who.
Right.
Let me try it. And initially, right, it was not bad because I didn't do too much, and you could pass. But then you sell your soul to the devil. You start being greedy. Oh, if this is good, let me try a little bit more. And then it came to the point, 99 at the show that you talk about it, in Canada, I already look stupid. I mean, in all reality, my arms look stupid. And at that time, I do remember holding just like this Pavel's arm when he won. My peak was I didn't even try. Right, it was there, and Bob Kennedy from Master Man International. He was my big fan. I said, "Listen, man, I love your physique. You're ruining it." And then I realized I'm ruining it, but the peak is just not natural. So say, you know what? Now I have to even up, and I have to shoot lower so to make it look anatomically correct. This is like just not. And then I made it 10 times worse. Then now it looks like a brick. And by the night of the champions, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And so all my enemies, they hear this, now they're going to be posting these pictures of my stupid arms. Yeah, I made myself completely look like a fool. But the incidents that you talk about it, I was doing a guest posing appearance for Joe Weider, somewhere, I don't know, East Coast. And the night before, I would take a flight. It's like, what? I'm going to do it with triceps, but I couldn't reach it. So I asked my ex to do it. And she didn't aspirate. She didn't pull back. And it just, when she pushed it, it was like Mike Tyson punch you in the chest. I mean, next thing you know, I am laying on the floor, and elephant is standing on my chest. 2
Right.
billion needles, it's like, oh my God, I have a pinhole, I can't breathe, shit. But as every time in the panic mode, first thing okay, calm yourself down, turn around on the stomach, breathe. So I told her to leave, and then I just thought I'm going to compose myself and get better, but I didn't. And then, I couldn't even call her because I can't talk. And I crawled down and said, call paramedics. And there was acute respiratory distress syndrome, very, very, very dangerous. But the whole point, when now already I'm making a fool out of myself, to make a good message for everybody. Biggest regret of my life, and something that ruined my career, stopped my career. If I didn't do that, I would probably compete way more. Synthol, if you're gonna listen to the bullshit, tell me what I want to hear. Is gonna bind to your fiber. Is gonna bullshit. It's nothing. It's creating inflammation, fibrosis, necrosis, and it's storing that oil. And oil is not the muscle, and you can't flex fat. And first you're gonna realize muscle doesn't look anatomically correct, doesn't have a shape, start losing separations, striation not even visible for from a microscope. For what? To volumize it. It's not real muscle. It's embarrassment. Unfortunately, I fall for it. That was towards the end of my career. You see, I competed 91, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And there are many shows that think if I had a bigger arms, I would be bold enough to say, yeah, I think I could have won. So for all the people now, they're asking me, is still prevalent in the industry. I know some people use it, but whoever is using it, you better stop as soon as you possibly can while you're still ahead, because you sell your soul to the devil is going to come and claim it, and it's going to be too late. One way or another, it's going to ruin your muscle, ruin your shape. And then just imagine when there's not normal tissue, and now you continue training, it's not responsive. Muscle fiber doesn't respond. I mean, I can train now arms for shock system of that lady from Switzerland with the crazy triceps. I can do that all day long. My triceps is dead. So yeah, it's something for people to consider.
But I fell for it too, so it's a huge mistake. In 97, I got a bottle, and only did 3 shots before the Olympia in the triceps, and it was actually looked pretty good. The little inflammation there, but my triceps was already not like Münzer-esque in any way.
Yeah.
When it came to quality, my front double biceps pose looked rounder, so I was kind of confirmed. Wow, this is great, And then in 98, I met a German bodybuilder with incredible arms, Heiko.
Heiko Kalbach?
Yeah, incredible arms.
Speaking of Heiko, one second. I spoke to Heiko today, and he said, greetings to Milos, please. So I sent you greetings from Heiko.
I love Heiko.
So, yeah, he didn't tell me he took anything, but he said he knows something, and a friend of his.
I know the guy that knows the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And they sent me a bottle of looked like a bottle of alcohol, and I almost died injecting it into my biceps. I was in the hospital for quite a while before the 98 Olympia.
Oh,
yeah. And then I did then some Synthol before 98 Olympia, and it looked, I was already not in shape to start with, and it looked absolutely incredibly ridiculous. So it's a huge mistake. I, of course, never touch it again. But in 99, in England at the Olympia, you looked really, really good.
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I balanced it a little bit. You can still see it. I hate it. Hey, listen, I don't want to say the name because I respect them so much. Some Olympia winners, right? That you would actually never guess they did. They actually did. It's like, how did you get away with it? I mean, small amount deep in, maybe you could get away. Not that I promote it. I would still say
Mm.
I stand behind 100%. If you have, throw it away. Throw it away. Do yourself a favor. Don't even give to anybody. Don't try to be like break the bottles and destroy it. That's my message. Yeah, it's not going to be a useful muscle. It's not going to be pretty muscle. It's not going to be shapely or correct. And it doesn't do anything. And now that you're telling me, you end up even in a hospital because some of those Syntols are homemade and God knows what is in it.
Right.
Yeah, it was the very first shot. I didn't know that. But let's before we wrap it up, let's go quickly to today's bodybuilding. You train some of the best people.
Yes.
So what do you think is going to happen here in the next 2 or 3 years? Who is going to take over, or is Hadi going to win a few more? Is your guy Samson, of course, is one of the top favorites? How you see it?
First, I have nothing but love and respect for Hadi Choopan. I've seen him turn pro 2016 in Dubai and look phenomenal. And ever since, for me, he could have easily had 3 titles by now. So super hardworking. Every bodybuilder, rock hard, straight, and all that stuff, right? So he, of course, has a chance to win. He doesn't have that shocking wow factor. His wow factor is his conditioning, okay? And everything is there, nothing missing, right? But still, some guy with a crazy shape and overwhelming size could possibly contest him. That's how Big Ramy beat him before, right? It was not the same condition, but it was still overwhelming size. Derek placing second, he was shock factor shape wise. He had a craziest V taper X frame with the most detailed, outstanding back. Conditioning from back was ridiculous, and he placed second. So those are 2 favorites going into the show, right? If I say anything else, I wouldn't be correct. In Las Vegas, they would have odds in their favor, first. But I tell you, of course, my athlete, Samson Dauda, is super, super dangerous. He is that one of the kind with the overwhelming size and shape of Lee Haney from back in the day with the extra 40, 50 pounds, right? Dramatically improving. When I started working with Samson, if you look at his old pictures, he was a little bit narrow and he needed more shoulders, more back, more arms. Now, shoulders and arms are already there. I mean, it's still not maybe the best arms in the history, but super competitive. Shoulders much wider and rounder, all this stuff. And back is filling up and is going to be super dangerous. When you have a genetics that you can see progressing, you said 90-41 World Championship, 95 you skipped and then went 96 Arnold Classic when I saw you first. The transformation you did from 94 to 95 to 96 was mind-boggling. Transformation that Samson is doing from show to show, you see it yourself. So if you project that, okay, we need more size, but for Olympia, we're going to need to have a better conditioning than the Arnold Classic. So if it's better condition and a couple of more pounds, Samson Dauda on the stage, he has legitimate chance to win. I'm not
so.
biased coach. I'm just doing this. You see, I can commentate next weekend's Andrew Jack, Lila Brada, Carlos Jr. Easily, and I can give you in detail my explanation. I'm not coaching anybody, so they're going to say, okay, now that's my opinion. But as soon as I'm here saying about Samson, and they're going to say I'm biased coach. I'm going to tell you another thing. Regan Grimes, after he wins a qualification for Olympia, by the Olympia, he's gonna surprise people. Okay, now he's not under the radar. He still didn't prove himself, but Regan has the most perfect shape you can possibly imagine, and he just needed a little bit more size, and he's putting that size and need that conditioning. I watched. I mean, he sent me this morning video. Also, he has that. Once in a lifetime. This is the shape that everybody would want. Okay, so if shape and he's 272 pounds, right? And if he shows up like even 260 on the stage, it's small. 260 on the stage is small. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people are playing these games, and it's all, oh, it cannot happen. It can very well happen. And Jean-Pierre, you beat some major names also during your career. I mean, you went to European Grand Prix tours, and you got the scalp of Chris Cormier and the other. I mean, you were there. If star alignment was just perfect, you showed up in your craziest condition. Okay, that's the question for you. If you were ripped to pieces and dry, do you see yourself possibly winning some of those shows and even messing people up at the Olympia?
Yeah, I mean, think about 97 at the Olympia in the finale. I was finally somewhat dry.
Yeah.
And then I could have pretty much dominated that European tour.
Yeah.
I mean, Dorian wasn't in the tour anymore.
Yeah.
I could have gone on there and win 4 or 5 shows of those 6, but I decided to eat and come in 10 pounds heavier, but yeah, absolutely. I could have won several shows. I mean, it just didn't happen.
I was with you at that tour, and I think you only competed in 4, and then probably you ate too much, and after the England, you said, "Okay, you're going home." So you didn't do like
pretty much.
Yeah, but the thing is, you were the biggest guy anyway. You're a monster. The only competitor was Nasser, right? In size wise, but you would kill Nasser from the behind. Okay, so there was no reason for you. I mean, of course, he was working with you. I would just go for conditioning, even semi-depleted or not even depleted, but let's say not loaded. It's just like everyday thing, like what you look okay now, just touch drier. Because I competed in that show. You placed. Where did you place at Olympia? 97.
7th.
7th. Okay, and then here, Chris Cormier was 8th. Ronnie was 9th. I was 10th. That was 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we go to Europe, and then Chris Cormier beat Nasser in England, right?
Correct.
I beat Chris in the first show in Hungary. And then Ronnie started coming in, and by the end, so what I'm saying, and I said this many times, you can flip the coin if you change something and you showed up just super dry, show would be over. I mean, you're the only one that had a complete physique, super thickness, super width. You had, like I said, ripped legs at all times. I mean, Jesus Christ. So what I'm saying is now, nobody's even thinking that Regan Grimes can actually be a contender at the Olympia. And I was like, hold on, just slow down. Look at aesthetics and shape. Unbelievable. Okay. So if he shows up 265 on the stage, sliced and diced, how could you not consider him? And this is what I'm telling you now in advance is going to happen by the time he shows up there. And then going to say, what happened with him? Same like, they didn't see Ronnie Coleman until 98. Really? Or they didn't see Jay Cutler until 2001. Really? It's the same body. Okay. It just wasn't dialed in perfectly. And all of a sudden, the guy that plays nowhere is a top contender. So, not being a biased coach, I'm a huge fan of both Samson and Regan. I'm blessed to coach them. I have another phenomenon, Behruz Tabani, Iranian guy, that I don't want to even be saying this to the universe, that he's not going to be able to get the visa. I hope he gets a visa for Olympia this time. Last year, he missed it. Now it's like 11 and a half weeks, and he still didn't get the visa. So, Jean-Pierre and Ben, you would think, imagine you train all your life to qualify for Olympia, and now you qualify for Olympia, you're ready for Olympia like we did after the last year, we pushed it, he was ready, he couldn't come. Now, again, he's putting everything into this one basket, just hoping he's going to get the call from American Embassy that he applied a year ago. So a year ago, they told him, 30 days to wait. Now is 13 months. Okay, 11 months later, and he still wasn't called out. And now we have to believe that they're going to call him out. So I'm always screaming to somebody at the IBB office, and please help. I mean, I'm helpless. What can I do?
And they got Hardy in, so
Yeah, but that's I ask Rainbow, Honey Rainbow, Rambo. I call him Honey Rainbow. Rainbow. He was a sponsor from Evogen, and that's why I guess sponsorship worked.
All right. So it's a really situation. I can only imagine you prepare for a show and you don't even know if you really can come. So can you give everything you have, and you always have in your head, oh, maybe I cannot even go? But anyway, Milos, I have one last question before we wrap it up. I want to bring this in. This is a good one. I heard about a crazy car accident where you actually saved 3 babies.
I didn't say.
No, that's what I heard. I know.
Okay, well, this is how it is. Yeah, no, it's the same. I was in Jones Boulevard, right, and there was approaching the Rainbow. There was a red light, so they slowed down. I'm slowing down also, like far from the next car. All of a sudden, I was hit from the back. I hit the car in front, and that guy hit the car in front where there were 3 babies. Okay. So it was a train accident, and the car that I hit the other car. And the guy that came out, I mean, this is exactly in what he said. Maybe that's what you heard. He came to me and he says, like, listen, if I was in your place, like if he was the car that this guy hit, the car would probably damage his car and probably kill the babies, right? So he said, I would be in a jail because I would kill this guy right now. So that's how the story is.
Okay.
It just it happens to be that I was the first car, and the babies were in the third car. Thank God also, because I'm a big guy and I can handle it, and it would be horrible.
Yeah, but you're actually not a baby saver. Okay, that story went around the internet. I'm like, wow, that's interesting, but okay, I guess not.
I wish.
But anyway,
hey, Milos, it's amazing. When we talk to you, all the plans go out the window in like 10 minutes.
But if listen, we can do some fast.
We can go on forever.
Exactly.
But I have a client here. I gotta unfortunately wrap it up. But that was great. That was just fantastic. Thank you so much.
Always do this again if you had those questions that didn't answer.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to.
All right, I really love you, man. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe.
I enjoyed it.
Milos.
I'll be back when you guys invited me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.